Katherine Edgren, who lives in nearby Dexter, Michigan, has two books of poetry, Keeping Out the Noise, which appeared from Kelsey Books in 2022, and The Grain Beneath the Gloss from Finishing Line Press, which was published about 3 years before. And as happens, um, three of the people here present wrote blurbs for those books. Uh, um, David Gibson wrote, and um, um, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry. Yes, and Lynn Gilbert uh, uh, spoke of their appreciation for keeping out the noise, and I wrote a testimonial on the back cover of The Grain Beneath the Gloss. She's also published two chapbooks, Long Division and Transports. Her work has appeared in Co-Review, Birmingham Poetry Review, Light, a journal of light verse, Hanging Loose, Orchard's Poetry Journal, the Brussels Review, and Third Wednesday. Before retirement, she was head of a department at the University of Michigan Health Service and served as a project manager through the University of Michigan. And she also served as a city council member for the city of Ann Arbor. I was pleased to see one of her poems in the current issue of Light.
So much, Ed, and it's really wonderful to be here. Thank you to Crazy Wisdom for having me. It's really hard to choose what poems to read at something like this. So I'm kind of focusing on the things that I enjoy reading. So hopefully that will come across. I'm mostly going to be reading from my book, Keeping Out the Noise. For some reason, I have Ed on my screen, which it's very nice to see your face, Ed, but I wonder if that's, let me fix my view. It's not working. Okay. So Keeping Out the Noise. Yeah, I wanted to, first of all, can you see the cover here? Mine looks a little bit blurry, but in my camera, for some reason, it's blurry. But this is a picture of our cabin in northern Minnesota. And one of the best ways I think of keeping out the noise is escaping to the woods and the forest and the lake. And actually, my dear friend Kathy Muha is a wonderful artist and is here. She did the cover. So I hope you can see it, but if not, it is a beautiful cover. And what do I mean by noise that we're trying to keep out? What I mean is the bothersome, irritating, distracting static that distances us from our purpose and from hope. And we can't let the noise set us off on a path where we lose our equilibrium and our ability to function to be the best that we can be. And personally, we each have to calibrate how much noise we can take. These days, it seems that there's a lot more noise to keep out. It's hard sometimes to hear the signal through the noise. The book has been divided into 8 sections, and I'm just going to read from a few of them. The first one, I'm sorry, it's divided into 9 sections, and I'm just going to read a few of them. The first section I'm going to read from is called Collecting and Connecting. These are some ways that we can keep out the noise. And the first 2 poems are very short that I'm going to read. Let's see, here we go. For some reason, I thought I had the right page. Oh, here we go. And the first 2 have to do with noticing things. That's one of the ways that we can keep out the noise is by paying attention and noticing things that are beautiful or truthful. The first one is called Returning from My Morning Walk. And this was actually after a walk in Iowa one morning. We were going to visit my husband's family in Iowa. Blinding sunrise forces my eyes down to reveal for the first time the long shadows made by even the tiniest pebbles. The next one was actually published in Third Wednesday, and it's also very short. It's called April Dissonance. What crazy season is this, with flowers like moonlight shining in the linden, and beyond, frost glittering on the grass? The next one is called October Bike Ride on the Calhaven Trail. And I like to read this because there's a lot of motion going on, a lot of movement, and a lot of sounds. And it was a wonderful experience biking on the Calhaven Trail. It's a bike trail between Kalamazoo and South Haven. And this was from a bike ride that we did quite a few years ago. A bike club on a tear leaves us in their dust. We pedal past the funky pig farm smell, fields speckled with grazing cows genuflecting to the sun, the spring green of alfalfa gripping the black soil, and a picker that grinds and husks, shooting fine corn dust high into the air. We coast past blurs of joggers, dog exercisers, glimpses of someone in a wheelchair, two on a tandem, bikers who stop to catch a breath, hand holders, skipping children, and a woman strolling with an old man. We are privileged to be so small between high rows of drying corn. Against the wind, we find all the gradual hills, and inside our helmets, we hear leaves rustling and heaving like ocean waves, never quiet. We are a narrow train that takes the hills and curves with ease along this former railroad bed. Sequestered within a leafy tunnel, we follow a kaleidoscope of shift and focus that moves with us, moves in us, and brings us to a world that exists most days without our notice. The next section I'm going to read from is called Letting in the Light. And isn't that what we have to do to keep out the noise sometime, is we have to let in the light. The first poem is all completely true. It's told from the point of view of a truck. It's called Chevy Pickup. Macho woman forked over $50 for me in 73. Rode way up high like a trucker. Changed my oil when she was feeling low. Check the side mirror. I'm glow-in-the-dark blue, Crayola blue. Yellow shag on walls and floors once was new. Sagging bucket seats, too. I'm clunky, clattery, but automatic. Radio works, shocks pretty bad. Take those corners real slow. Rusty door not always reliable. Try the passenger side, girl. Winters, sometimes both doors. Windows, too. Honk, 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 we'd yell. She'd bang on the window and hope for some kind passerby. Summer, she took me out on spins for ice cream. My windows down, her long hair flying, radio blasting, Clapton, Hendrix, Led Zeppelin. She'd shove a mattress into my hard bed and take the whole gang and their young'uns to fireworks on the 4th of July. She sold me for 75 bucks in 75, worth every penny. The next poem is called How Hot. And actually it was, I got the idea for it because I heard somebody say, it's so hot that the hens won't lay. And I thought that was such a great line. You pick up these little things out of the air and they inspire you. I'm sure we all have that experience. So this is called How Hot. It's so hot this hen won't lay. She'll hold her eggs for a cooler day. But when she lets them go at last, they'll turn rotten very fast. It's so hot this dog won't walk. Just a short one, then she'll balk, flop in cool grass in the shade while Mama longs for lemonade. It's sizzling hot all over town, so hot the grass is blanching brown. It stabs your butt so you can't sit. Are we in drought? No doubt of it. The last from this section is based on Harry and David. Are you familiar with Harry and David and their catalog? Okay. Well, this is about Harry and David's Royal Riviera pears. And there's an epigraph that says, after years of study, scientists discovered pears are best eaten naked in the bath, their juices streaming down. They came in the mail. As per pear instructions, we waited only 2 days, and they were ready. Predictable, unfickle. Their best time is narrow, blessed with a perfect moment of just ripeness. Vigilance is required to discern the moment in its thinness. It's best when it all comes together, texture, flavor, when just the right notes sing. Each day, remembering to check back to open the dark box resting on the counter and fingertip test where the stem joins the fruit, the fontanelle of the pear. Such fleeting perfection, each pear joins the society of others with 2 short lives, the mayfly, the daylily, the evening primrose. So cool and sweet, so white-fleshed and plush, good thin sliced with alternating bites of sharp white cheddar on a fresh plate, juicy snowflakes drifting outside. The pears are voluptuous. Dimpled, they blush and turn, open and open again. The cool shell softens, lingers, and like love, there's ripening, yielding. We both inhale, our hands, mouths, tongues, lips, find, nibble, bite, catch the succulence as we abandon ourselves to the sweetness of submission. Okay, now, the next section I'm going to read from is called Cursing and Rehearsing. And isn't that what we do sometimes? We have to curse or we have to repeat things over and over again. So the first one is called Last Times. And I got the idea for this poem because I got a Christmas card from a mentee, actually, somebody I was mentoring, a young woman who talked about in her family, her sister was really sad because she realized that she'd gotten too heavy to be carried and that carrying was so wonderful to be carried when you're a kid. And that made me think about all the last times that we have that we don't really realize our last times until later. So maybe you can identify with this. Last times. Breaking track in the shelter of fragrant pines is over for us. Our knees and hips protest. Instead of storing skis and poles forever, we donate them to a resale shop. The last time had come and gone. You always know the first time, but rarely see the last one coming. Afterwards, in the rearview mirror, you glimpse the fork in the road, that eternal detour, as you hear the clunk of the curtains fall. Your parents pick you up and set you down so many times, and being carried is like riding an elephant, an enormous luxury. Eventually, you grow big or heavy, too self-sufficient, or want to go faster, and they stop. So many last times. The last warm day, last snow, last menstrual blood. Pre-pandemic, the last time soaking in a hot tub filled with chatty women. The last time I sang beside others. The last feeling of safety. The last time I saw my brother, now a stranger. The last time I saw my mother, her powdery pink skin, thin bones visible beneath. The look of desperation I wasn't able to erase. The last time I saw clearly before eye surgery or slept without pain. What would be different if I knew it was the last time we'd wake together in the same bed? would I try to say something wise, say thank you, apologize? The next one I'm reading in honor of my friend, 90-year-old friend, Fran Lyman, who died in December. And I'm reading it because she really liked this poem. And it's called Details. Maybe you can relate. It's an old poem, but it's in this poem, in this book. They start out so small, insignificant, subordinate. Trifles, dots, jots, flecks, iotas, tittles, scraps, snippets. Only minim, feeble, puny, meager, but stubborn like a stain. Mud rollers in the daytime, at night they turn into slippery, devilish imps who hide around corners and leap out to startle with googly eyes and dripping tongues. Greedy feeders on haste and forgetfulness, they grow fat and fatter until they are obese, imposing, then march their muddy feet all over what you thought was nearly done. They leave wide wakes of humiliation and regret. They make you mistaken, require apologies, force you to rope and corral them, break and smooth their rough edges and detail them, detach their heads from their necks and deliver them with delight, diced and cut into the smallness of their little souls. Now I'm going to read one of my favorite poems that I like to read, that I hardly ever read. And it has to do with igniting memory. Isn't that one of the ways we deal with the noise, is sitting around remembering things? And this is something that happened at our cabin in Minnesota, which is another place that where I like to escape. It's called Mars Summer. It was the summer of Mars and its unusual proximity to Earth. It was the summer of no mosquitoes, no injuries, nothing lost. It was the summer of high winds harnessed like wild horses that carried us around the island easily. It was the summer you caught only one perch, not counting the one found on your line after untangling it from the motor. It was the summer we learned the names of the Jerusalem artichoke and the New York aster, and you taught me the way to distinguish between white pines, 5 needles, like a hand, and red ones, only 2, like eyes. It was the summer we fed leftover hot dogs to the dog, drank beer instead of scotch, and skipped taco night to eat together alone. It was the summer I figured out I could win almost any solitaire game with 3 cheats, and the summer I read Harry Potter and Robert Lowell's collected works. It was the summer I committed the eagle's cry to memory, saw the deer with her fawn leap across the road near the High Line. It was the summer of the new bed, so big it barely fit in the little room. It was the first summer since your mother's death. You found her old comb when we moved the bed. I found her housecoat and her headscarf. Her corduroy coat was useful out on the lake in the evening. It was the summer when your foot broke through the dock on the very last day and we declared, next year will be the summer of the new dock. Okay, I just have a couple more here. Let me see how we're doing. We're okay for time. Another thing we do to keep out the noise is just hang on by our fingernails, I think. And these are both fit under the section of hanging on. The first one is called For Whatever Is to Come. I should say a mackerel sky for those of you who don't know what a mackerel sky is. It's a particular kind of sky that means it's probably going to precipitate in the near future. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it looks kind of like a mackerel. For whatever is to come, under a furrowed mackerel sky, first snow coming, the November trees undress themselves, leaf by leaf, in slow reveal, and stand unguarded in wait for whatever comes. Like the once new couple undressing each other, surprise packages, eager to be stirred by what they find, button by button, a gentle tug over the head, a zipper or two, often some trouble with a belt, an unhooking, loosening. And years later, knowing precisely what they'll find, they skip the preliminaries, slip under cool sheets, and warm each other in a party that needs no dinner dress, holding on against the opaque chill roaring toward them. Now I'm going to read a fishing poem. I hope that makes Ed happy. He likes my fishing poems. And it starts out, I'll just give you a hint. It starts out in a dream. So that's what's going on. It's called What Holds. Once again, circling the same fishing hole, I wait for the quick tug, the muscled gleam, but everything's vague and strange, as if I've never been here before, with no landmark, no buoy, nothing I can point to, as if I'm a visitor to a former workplace or my elementary school, but nothing feels familiar, everything changed. Why this perpetual return? Revelation eludes me like the fish that nibbles but never strikes. I reel in, there's resistance on the hook, but it's always a long string of weeds, a wriggling crayfish, or what's left of a minnow injured by the one that got away. Never the epiphany of the big fish. Waking, I'm compelled to ask, what else has altered? My gait, my face, my husband as he grows old with me, dear friends who turn forgetful, fall ill. Squinting, I try to make out what holds. The elephant skin of the water, white gulls flying up like unfolding handkerchiefs, only to plunge headfirst. An eagle coasting just below the tree line, the shore, the sunset, the sun itself, the whole community of fishermen of which I am a part, sitting or standing in boats lit by lights that we bring, still casting, still casting. And I think what I'll do is read one more, well, two more, let's say two more poems that are not from my book, that are new. I think I have time for that. They're not too long. This one is called, Merlin, and a Merlin is a small hawk. The Merlin arrived and stole some other bird's carefully crafted nest. He's a bully, a thief, a killer. A small, fierce falcon, he lords it over this plot of land, snatches translucent dragonflies midair. Last year, to attract pretty songbirds, we strung a feeder from a birch tree branch near the screened-in porch and won close-ups of twitchy chickadees and purple goldfinches gorging on mixed seeds. Now that the Merlin has invaded, we feel a tragic absence. The feeder has turned into bait, a sharp trap. Zigzagging from first light to when bats surface from behind shutters, the Merlin, with his shrill, high-pitched call, his assertion of dominion, heralds an unbidden dwindling. Lifting my head to his sky-writing sketches, remembering songbirds, I try to make out the words. And the last one is a morning song, Obad, and I hope it ends on an appropriate note for poetry. Some mornings, even hello is too much. A friendly wave will do. I won't try talking to you unplugged from your hearing aids. My eardrums reel when you empty the dishwasher, clanking silverware into the drawer like a drummer. Mornings, I like it quiet. And I cannot abide romantic music before noon, soaring, throbbing, loud. Measured, predictable Baroque feeds my morning need, as does the gentle tick, tick, tick of sparrows stabbing seeds at the feeder, the brisk okalee of red-winged blackbirds, sandhills trilling outside the front door. Today, crisp daffodils blur in streaming rain, and safe from thunder, the dog finds solace beside me. Before long, we're left with a slow drip, and what was frozen melts, what was closed opens. Off I go to scribble lines of poetry, my morning prayer, as I think of the poet who said, "The dream is always more than itself," as morning is, very like a dream, and like a poem, always something drumming underneath, asking to be heard. Thank you.
Journal of Light Verse, which is a very fine magazine.